Darren Stewart with Stewart & Stewart Attorneys with us here today. Nick Wagner is going to talk with us about a couple different things. We often get client calls about different things, and we love to share them with you and our experiences with talking to clients. Just about every call we get has a component of this, Nick, and I thought it'd be important to address it.
Sure.
And that is, no matter what kind of case it is, no matter how the injury occurred, sometime during that initial conversation with the client, the topic of talking to the insurance adjuster comes up, and they'll say, they've been calling me and I haven't gotten back with them yet. What should I do? Should I talk to the insurance company here? What do you share with the clients?
Boy, where to start on that? I'd say this. Let's start with this statement. The insurance adjuster, you are not so much of a person to the insurance adjuster as you are a claim and a liability. And that insurance adjuster's job is to do whatever they can to minimize the value of your case for their boss, so they can show them, look, we don't need to pay this much.
Right. If they can either deny it,
Right.
the claim, or reduce the claim, that's what they're paid by the insurance company to save them money.
Yep. Right. And there's five. Well, there could be arguably more, but there are at least five things that I would say to be careful for when you're talking to an insurance adjuster. First thing I would say before I even get into that is I would say, if you've thought at all about hiring a lawyer to deal with this insurance company, do it. Because these things that you want to avoid talking about or getting yourself into can really ruin a case. They can take a lot of value away from it.
Sometimes things can be innocently said,
Right.
And twisted,
Right.
into something different. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you may not think you're hurting your case, but you certainly are in some circumstances. So, one of those things is talking about fault and who is at fault for the wreck. You never obviously want to admit that you were at fault for the accident when if in fact you weren't. And you don't really want to get into that conversation anyways, because they're going to try to trip you up. They're going to try to get you to start to speculate, which is another one of those things that I said you shouldn't really talk about. You shouldn't talk about anything that would require you to speculate, whether it's about who was at fault or how the accident happened. And that kind of goes into another thing, which is your injuries. That's the biggest thing that they want to minimize is your injuries. If they can get past fault, great. But once they start talking about injuries, then they're starting to plug these things into their program to figure out how much your case is worth in their opinion. And if they can minimize that, they will. And you may not realize that you're doing it, but they may ask you something like, "Hey, how were you feeling? Right after the wreck?" And you may just innocently say, "I felt okay. I just didn't think I needed any treatment, right away."
And that's a great point, because a lot of times you're in this wreck and you're beat up, banged up, and bruised, and you're mentally thinking, "Well, I'm not getting in an ambulance to go to the hospital.
Right.
I'm okay."
Yeah.
You say, "I'm okay."
Right.
And you're really not, because the day later, you're in your family doctor, or 2 days later, it's your family doctor with all kinds. You need physical therapy to deal with it,
Yeah.
because of what happened. But that they've got you saying you were okay, and I've seen it used against the people. Say, "Well, you're okay then. Now you must just be making this up."
Yeah.
And it's really a shame, because that's just not true.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too. Sometimes they'll want to get what's called a recorded statement from you. Never give a recorded statement to an insurance adjuster.
And you're not obligated to, right?
Right. You don't
Yeah,
have to.
right.
You don't have to. Nothing in the law or the way we pursue these cases say that you have to. You never want to do that. It could be used against you later, and there's nothing you can do about that in most cases. But again, when it comes to the adjuster and the conversation that you're having with them, if in fact you haven't consulted with an attorney, avoid any conversation about settling the case or any informal or formal agreement for them to pay you money, and certainly be wary of any documents that they may send you to have you sign to release them from that. Again, after you talk about those five things, it's like, well, what can I say?
Right.
And I always tell people, look, if you really want to know the value of your case and you want to make this claim the right way, call a lawyer and call Stewart & Stewart, because we can help you through that.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that is that you can tell the adjuster, I've hired a lawyer, give me your contact information, I'll have them call you.
And let your lawyer deal with it.
Yep.
It's interesting. You made me think of something. The client conversation I have quite a bit is they'll have a conversation with the adjuster, and the vast majority, if not all of our clients, just want a fair shake. They don't want to a capital case here. They don't want it to drag out. They don't want to sue. They don't want to have. They don't want to hire a lawyer. They wish it didn't happen, and they just want to be fairly compensated. This should be fair with me and get this over with. And they'll make the mistake often of saying, "I just want this over with. I just want to get this done." And once oftentimes once that's in that insurance file, that gives you the desperate tag. I'll take anything tag, and it makes it so hard for you to get a fully compensated, because when you really start asking for what you should get, they offer less.
Right.
It creates a real challenge for you on the back end to get it resolved. I mean, there's little things like that honestly, in reality, there's nothing wrong with saying that, but it gets twisted into something it shouldn't be. Right. So and it's just one example. But our basic black and white rule for talking to an adjuster is don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. There's nothing positive that can come out of it. Absolutely nothing. Their job is to reduce or deny your claim, and they're going to gather information just to do that. And I guarantee you, their job is not to remind you or tell you about other areas that you're allowed to be compensated for and offer you more money. I've never seen an adjuster have a conversation and then try to gather information to give you more money. They won't be working there very long if that's the case. Their job is they're like trained to find fraud. They think there's fraud in there's a component of fraud in every case, unfortunately. And that's just not true. I know there's fraud cases out there. We realize that. But our clients, they want a fair shake. They want to be treated fair and be compensated the way they should be compensated, and it's not a fraud issue. So there's a lot to that. Thank you for taking a few minutes today, Nick. Appreciate that.
Problem.
If we can help you, reach out and give us a call. Nick or I would be happy to talk to you on the phone. We have other attorneys here that can talk to you as well and help you and guide you through your case.